Hey friends, welcome back. Now let's talk about the Keepfilters function, because this function is also often used in combination with calculate, and let's actually explore what it does and how it can be used. So at first I'd like to create a new sheet, because here I already have used a lot of space. So let's actually rename this here, this page to, let's say this is all versus all selected. And then I click on the plus symbol here. What I want to do is I simply copy this table here, Control Z to copy it, and I go to the new page, Control V to paste it, just to make sure that I simply copy the format. That's what I actually wanted. I can remove all the values, in this case what I don't need, all the measures, because everything I need right now is the total sales itself as well as the category. So start from here. So now let's actually explore at first the sales for a specific category. So using the all function, we already know how that works. We have explored that in the last couple of videos, but let's actually do this here as well, just to see also what the comparison is to Keepfilters. So I could say I'd like to see my total sales, but only for a specific category. So we can say, we know we can do this with cheese as an example. So I could right click on my orders table. I can say I'd like to create a new measure. And then I say I want to calculate my total sales based on a specific category. So I could say this will be the sales for cheese is equal to, so let's say calculate, and as an expression we say we would like to calculate the total sales, and then we need to give it a filter context. And we know that we could use the filter function for that. So filter needs a table, and this table it gets filtered by the filter expression. So we can say filter, and then we need to give it the all function, so all. This is important. So oftentimes if you apply the filter function, people forget to use the all function. Okay. So if you want to remove any kind of filter, use the all function here for the first argument for the table. So then we are referring to the table. In our case, it's orders, and we can close this. And then we need to give it a filtered expression. So please return the complete orders table, but this orders table needs to be filtered by an expression we set. And we say that the category here from the orders table should be equal to, in this case, cheese. Okay. Cheese. Like that. And I can close this and also close the calculate function. And let me also put this in a new line here. Like that. Okay. We got our formula and evaluate it. So if we press enter, we will see what we get. And most of you probably already know that. So if we now take this option and take this option here, just to visualize it, we will get the same value across all the different kinds of categories, because we simply use the all function and the calculate function to override the external filter context. Always remember, from the visual you have external filter context, which in this case is each category for each row. But within the calculate function, in this case sales for cheese, we have internal filter context for the category, and this internal filter context gets compared to the external and is simply overriding the external filter context. So far so good. And we know, just by the way, that this expression here is the same as if we want to do it short. We could simply say that the category is equal to cheese. So in quotes, cheese. And this would be exactly the same value. So just to show it to you, if I press enter here, you would see that you get exactly the same result. So nothing changes in here, right? But for me now, because I would like to show this in comparison with the Keepfilters, I simply want to refer back to the original complete formula, this one. So that's one way to do it, of course, with the all function. And we also know if we modify this function slightly, so instead of using all, we use values, we get a slightly different result. So let me just do this, but I will copy it. So sure, just to make sure that we do this quite quickly, because we already know how that works. We right click on a new measure here, and we paste this inside. Here one more time. We simply say sales for cheese, let's say 2 as a second example. But this time, the only slightly modification we make is, instead of using all, we use the values function. So values, and the values, as we already know, is returning a unique list for a table. So a single column of a table with unique values here. So basically removing any count of duplicates for the column. So it gives us a unique list of, in this case, the categories we have. But the values function is not behaving like the all function. It's not simply ignoring what we have here. It's simply taking this into account as well. And that is why if we press enter here and go to our function here, our table, and actually evaluate this function, so take the option, we would see the result for cheese, that's what we expect, but for all the other categories, we simply don't return anything, because the context here would actually be the external filter context, condiments, as well as at the same time the internal filter context, and both these filter contexts together, of course, the intersection doesn't return anything. That's why it's empty, okay? So the final thing now, which we'd like to discuss, and actually the main point of this video, is the Keepfilters function. So the Keepfilters function, how does that work? Let's actually go to our sales for cheese one more time. And finally, I will copy this one more time because it's actually quite the same expression. So now let me actually right click on orders table, create new measure here, and let's paste this inside here and say sales for cheese. So with the Keepfilters, so let's say 3. And instead of using filter values orders in order categories cheese, we will remove the whole second part. And the only thing we need to do here is we say we want to keep the filters. So let's say Keepfilters. And here you can read through it. It changes the calculate and calculate table functions, so both of them. Filtering, and so here filtering semantics. So what you need to do is you need to now give it an expression. And this expression could be a Boolean expression again, so that the orders table, and from the orders table, the category itself is equal to, in our example, cheese. Okay, simply type in cheese here, or whatever kind of category you want to test it with. Works exactly the same. And then we need to close the calculate function, and we are good to go. So that means the Keepfilter function, it does exactly what you would expect it to do based on its name. It keeps the filters. That means it keeps external filters, like in this case, each of the rows in the table. These filters will still get applied, but in addition to this filter, also the filter you specify here gets applied. So actually both of them. And the behavior will be exactly the same as the values function. So I'm going to show it to you. If you press enter and now tick the table and also evaluate what the Keepfilter function will do. So if you tick this option, you'll see you got exactly the same behavior as the values function. Because you can think of it this way, as I said before, Keepfilters means please use this new evaluation context from the calculate function, so this one, but keep the filters which are currently applied from external. In this case, each of the categories. And then again, you have the same behavior as the values function. You have an intersection between the internal filter context, this one, and the external filter context coming from the visual you have. And then of course, if you do it this way, then for cheese and cheese, this is the only combination, the intersection, which makes sense and actually returns a value. And that is why you only see here a value for cheese, like you have with the Keepfilters, with the values function. So Keepfilters and values function, or the calculate with values function, behave exactly the same. So you can use them interchangeably, whatever you prefer. Okay? So that's it for this video. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.